Clean hands, no jewellery, short fingernails, ready to roll. First one we're going to attempt is we're going to sew the spiral zip on through the small radius. Here we have it. As we said earlier, we want to make sure that we sew on the underside of where the white pencil is. How do we know? That's the outside. Turn it over. Check with the amount of zip that we have available to us. Make sure that we're satisfied that we've got enough. Perfect. Okay, here we go. It takes really good technique. You need to make sure that you can use your sewing machine and plant your needle within a needle's width of the edge of the zip. So I want to be clear on that. So it's a needle's width within the edge of the zip. You don't want to go too far over because we're going to load this zip up quite a lot. If we go too far into the edge, into the center of the zip, the side of the zip's going to actually curl up, and we don't want that. So I'm talking about 2 millimeters from the outside edge of the zip. That's right. Hold your threads, needle in the job, start. Now you can either be someone who does a lock stitch or does a tie off. Entirely up to you guys.
Lock stitch.
All right, so here I am. I've got my zip, I've got my clear, I've got my white pencil line. I'm butting my zip to the pencil line. I'm keeping tension on that zip at all times. So your hands are very critical. As you can see, that little wave in the tape, if I just pull that, you'll see that the wave does disappear. Okay, so I want the wave to disappear. Now I'm not using a huge amount of force yet. Okay, I've stopped before our radius starts. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to use my technique that I've developed with the way that I hold the zip with my hands. I'm going to pull the zip like this and load that up. So if I load that up, you'll see how that tape will distort. So again, that's a critical point where you need to make sure the needle strikes perfectly. So I'm holding that very firm. If we're able to get an overhead shot, you would see that I am distorting that tape quite slightly. And I'm pulling that through using my finger here, holding it, pulling it tight, one-handed, just using this other hand to move the clear. Okay, I'm at the end of the radius now. Some might say I can just keep sewing and it'll be okay. You've got to be very clear about the way the sewing machine is set up. This is a needle feed walking foot with a height adjuster and a stitch adjustment. If we vary any of those, we can have skid. Okay, the tape can skid against the more rigid plastic. Be very careful. Make sure you keep tension on that. So again, I'm keeping it right on that edge. So this is just going to speed through this very quickly. I'm sure this bit will get cut out. Again, I'm still keeping tension. I'm just going to stop there, back pedal, needle will come up, release the thread, trim. What do you do next? What stitch do you put on it next? Jen, what do you use?
I continue using the same stitch, but I do a second line on that.
Second line on the bottom side. I would think that's industry standard. I would think.
Not everybody.
If you've got
does
an
it.
alternative, and as Jenny just said, not everybody would do that, please drop us a line. You can get on to me with my mobile number, send me a text message, send me a video to neil.hancock@nolans.com.au, or my phone number's 0447 Marine. Happy to share. Happy to share. I can do this in real time quite quickly. And the machine's already got the zip sitting nicely. And I'm butting the outside edge of the foot to the teeth. Jenny's got this turned up very quickly.
Jenny's speed racing.
I would think everybody who's watching this would say, well, yep, that looks like what we normally do.
Yep.
So it's the internal. How do we get this to sit flat? Okay, now, some people would suggest that it's okay to fold it. And I'm not going to disagree. If that's what you're satisfied with, then that's fine. I've certainly come a journey. This is my tool of choice. It's a skewer. Everyone will have plenty of them in their workshop. I'm trying to force the zip tape to the machine. Again, critical that I keep that needle right where the edge of the tape is. Now, when do I start to force it in? I think everybody would know that it's at the start of the radius. Now, how am I going to do it? Am I going to do it like that? Am I going to look to do it with my hand and put a fold in it? Actually going to use the skewer. Tactically, I've got to put it so that I don't allow the needle to hit the skewer. So very carefully, I'm just going to slowly pucker that tape up. Jenny's giving me a lovely curved skewer.
Get one that's strong enough.
You got a lot of foot pressure on this too, Jen. Naturally.
Don't like things sliding away.
Naturally, if you take a picture of the best one that I do. So if I'm looking at now, I'm seeing tiny little puckers of zip. Now, as an industry standard, I think most people would suggest that what we're doing is what everybody else would do. Now, keeping in mind, now that I've got past the radius, I'm just going to sew that like I normally would. What I don't want is I don't want to pucker too much fabric up so the teeth start to hit one another when they come through the slider.
I do it slightly differently, but
Now, some might say that you would cut this now and you would take that piece off, you would add a UV strip to it, whatever suits you in your workplace. In my environment where I've come in, Melbourne, which is always beautiful and sunny, I don't need to worry about any UV damage. So I cut down next to that second row of stitching that I did, using the inside of the foot this time, to butt up to my teeth. Now Jenny will critically assess my performance. Now, let's assess this. Let's me assess this. My puckers aren't done very well in relation to symmetry, so I've got them a bit all over the shop. Okay, so that's poor execution. I would give myself no scores out of 10 for that. What I would do is that because it's something that I'm not used to, I would have evolved a method that you guys have evolved that would allow you to have something that would look a lot better than that. That zip is sitting quite flat through the radius. Okay, I would come up with a method that would allow me to make those puckers look a hell of a lot better than they do right there. That's a tight radius for a spiral zip that you can do, as we discussed earlier. Jenny was talking about a short drop. You can do that. Your method is critical with how you pucker that zip up. Let's have a go at the chunky, number 10.